All right, here we go.
Wow, 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 wow.
Welcome to the Bovasin Outdoor Chronicles. My name's Jared.
And my name's Garrett.
We're two brothers who love the outdoors, and we spend most of our free time and all of our money on our adventures. From working all week to playing all weekend, we find ourselves
Surviving the week.
to live on the weekends. Well, we're back, guys. Season 2, Episode 3. We're chugging along just fine and dandy.
Yeah, I slowed the pace down a little bit from
Yeah.
last season, but definitely bringing, I would say, higher quality content, even with our first two guests, both Jeremy and Ralph. Both super interesting guests, and I learned a lot from both of them.
So if you haven't listened to those episodes, tune in and listen to those. Some guys with some great experience.
And they're a little bit on the longer side, but they're definitely worth the listen for the humor and then also the substance of the conversations.
Agreed. Well,
so
go on.
No, you got it.
All right. Well, we've got a kind of a busy summer is what's happening.
For sure.
Real busy. You just had your first kid.
I did.
I mean, it's been a bit, so I'm not going to say you're a brand new dad, but first Father's Day.
I still feel like a brand new dad.
Yeah. Fair enough. Do you feel that way till the second kid?
I think you feel that way through all of them.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different stages. I mean, even from the newborn stage to now, he's about 4 months. I mean, he's changed so much in that span, and that's a lot different. You know, starting to get a lot more personality on him, be more aware, look around versus the
smile.
Yeah, which is like his laugh is like, you feel it in your heart. Yeah.
I get that. And I got a bachelor party coming up.
Yeah, you do.
So that'll be fun. I think we're gonna float a river for 3 to 4 days, kind of Huck Finn style.
Yep.
It'll be fun. Kind of cook what you catch or starve.
Yeah, is that the challenge on the bachelor
we
trip?
might bring some hot dogs just in case.
Yeah. No, I think we eat or we don't. No, because we're going with some people that aren't necessarily as versed as
we
us
could eat them.
I think it's like 3 days. I think both you and I have enough.
Yeah. Do you think we could go away for murder?
Yeah.
Sir, I was dying of starvation. You were only gone 3 days.
Yeah, that might be a hard sell.
Yeah, that's pretty
good. That might be hard to coordinate some dancers for you. I mean, floating on the river, you know, that's...
It'll either be expensive or they'll go for free, and they'll be, you know, chicks we pick up, lot lizards or something. Don't tell Holly.
Sounds like you already have a plan.
Maybe. But after a busy summer of weddings and bachelor parties and having a kid, we'll roll around to the next hunting season.
But there is one thing this summer that I want to do. I've never caught a grayling. So that's on my list this summer.
I think that'll be pretty easy to do. We can get that done.
Yeah. Well, we've said that about a lot of things.
Well, it's Holly's birthday weekend next weekend, so maybe we'll... Holly, let's go hiking. Grayling, check.
Hey, you want to go hiking, Holly? Oh, yeah, Garrett's going.
Yeah, Garrett's going. We got to bring a gift.
Yeah.
That's funny. One good news about my wedding is it's on the same day as Garrett's birthday.
Oh, they're well aware from previous episodes about how you're stealing my birthday.
Okay. I just want to make it clear.
You just want to rub salt in the wound.
I'm making the day extra special.
Yeah.
It's a 2-for-1.
A 2-for, yeah.
To be honest,
that's like a kid born on Christmas. Like, his birthday's just ruined because it's Christmas.
We can't afford to waste any days on birthdays and anniversaries.
Oh, is that what it is?
So if we could stack them all up the same day, that would be perfect.
I'm not sure I want to be around for your anniversary every year. That seems like a little...
No, we don't. You don't have to be there. But what I'm saying, instead of you wasting a day on your birthday and me wasting a separate day on my anniversary, you can have your birthday. I can have my anniversary on the same day separately if you want.
So
then it's done.
What I'm hearing is I'm getting screwed on the birthday gifts because it'll be like, oh, it's a big one between Holly and me.
Yeah.
What a day on your wedding day. I'm getting written out of your will officially, and Holly's getting written in on my birthday. I mean, what a great birthday present for me.
Yep. And the guy walked on the moon too.
Oh my word.
Yeah, it'll be a good summer. It's going quick already, but it'll be a good one. The garden's going. Hopefully we'll have maybe a few clips up or a few videos up. You can see the transformation that has happened there.
And I always give you crap for the garden because I'm like, let's go chase something. But it is something cool about being able to provide more food for you and your family.
Yeah, it's kind of on the same realm as all the outdoor stuff we do. That's a lot on the protein side. We don't really forage. We're not mushroom
Is that the
pickers.
next big thing? I mean, I've picked like morels in the spring.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting a little better at it. Like on the bear hunt this spring I went on, we were picking some nettles. And I never had nettles before, and we cooked them, and they were pretty good.
And you didn't get the shit, so it was a correct idea.
It was correct. The other one we had is we found a lot of wild onions. And that was entertaining. I will tell you what. I'm with one of my buddies, Ujal, and we get to this creek bed, and we've been walking all day, and it's hot and sunny, and we are out of water. But we're going to drop down.
Can I pause? How come all your stories are we were out of water or we didn't have any water?
Well, when you're hiking up there, water's plentiful. All right? So you don't want to carry a bunch of it because it wears you out. I see what you're saying. Right? So we were out of water because we were walking down to a creek, but it took us longer than the water we packed. But it's not like we were going to die of dehydration.
Yeah,
we dropped down in this creek bed, dry. It's the main creek, goes under the ground.
Oh, man.
We had to walk up ways there was water, so we were fine. But we popped down, and there's a little snow melt trickle, and all over you can smell onions. I looked down, it looks like grass, but it was these onions. So I'm like, oh, man. And he hands me his knife, and I dig out some onions and wash them in the creek, and I start chewing on them. And he's like, you think those could be death onions? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. There's no such thing as death onions. So he's like, oh, yeah, they are. They'll kill you. And I'm like, bullshit. So I ate some more, and he's like, if you get the shits, we got to go in because you could be dying, right? And I'm like, if it looks like an onion, it smells like an onion. It tastes like an onion. It's probably an onion.
I already got the shits.
I already got the shits, right? I'm going to do it anyways. So we ended up walking up this creek looking for bears, but there was what you would think was grass, and that's why we went down there. The bears were eating grass, and the whole floor of this creek bed was grass. Well, when we finally got down there, it wasn't grass, it was wild onions, but it looked like grass. They were just so thick. So we picked a whole bunch, put them in my pack, right, along with some nettles. And Ujal was, when we got to the top of the mountain where we were camped, he was going to look at them and
determine if they're death onions.
Because he could get service. Anyways, we finish our hike. We get up to camp. He pulls it up on his phone on top of the mountain. Sure enough, there's such thing as death onions.
What?
And now I'm going,
where are they found?
Yeah, exactly, right? The same place you find wild onions.
What?
What? So I'm giving him shit. And what we ended up doing is we have, our jet boils or whatever.
Sponsorship.
And we're cooking like kind of a stew, stuff like that. I have brought some bacon grease up they throw in. And he was going to cook nettles and these onions. And I already threw some in my soup that I was making. And so he's cutting them, and then he stops, and he's like, because now he knows how to identify the onions, but he's got them all in a pile. So he sees a few leaves, and he's like, these look like fucking death onion leaves, right? And I'm like, you'll be fine. So he ends up cooking it, and he's eating his soup a little bit, and he looks at me, and he goes, my lips are starting to go numb. And I'm like, well, we're a few hours from the truck. But
Nice knowing you.
Nice knowing you. But he ended up, it was fine. We went to bed, and,
So how much of that was the death onion? How much was it like psyching yourself out? Like,
I think he was psyching himself out a little bit, but it was funny as shit. Like, seriously, could be. He's like, my lips are getting numb. Like, it's usually not a good sign. So, anyways, we go to bed. The next day, we walk up. We're going to hunt some more. We start walking, and we get a little ways from camp, and I go, there's a fucking onion up here. And we go over to it, and we pick it. It's a fucking death onion.
What?
Yeah. So, it wasn't with other onions, but it looks very similar, right? And I don't know the actual name. We just called them death onions because we were kind of picking on Ujo, right? So we had these death onions, and we walk down. We get to the truck. Well, when we get to the truck where we parked the night before, or a few days before, it was dark. We didn't notice, but there's wild onions all down there. So we start going to the bank and picking them. Well, one thing about death onions, they don't smell like onions. They smell more like a carrot, but they look the same as onions. So we're picking all these, and we picked some, and we're smelling them, and some of them we were picking were death onions.
So they're mixed.
And they were growing
down.
together. So there's no way you really misidentify them in the field when they grow separate, because you pick it up and you're like, this doesn't smell like an onion. Very oniony smell.
Pungent.
But when they're growing together, you pick a few and you're like, oh, these are onions.
You're
You
just
pick a
probably
bunch
smelling your
and you
hand.
have one or two in them. Yeah, so almost got twice.
So what's that Disney movie? Is it Holes? Or they climb the mountain and they're
God's
eating
thumb.
onions?
Eating onions. That's what we did.
Yeah.
We ate onions. Yeah,
Is your life just like a Disney movie? Is that?
I wish. If I didn't have to go to work, it
Yeah.
would be like a Disney movie.
Digging holes in the
Digging
desert,
a hole.
living the dream.
I don't know if Disney wrote that one.
No,
I think it was off a book.
fair enough.
But yeah, it was a pretty good bear season.
Good.
Pretty good spring bear. So I ended up getting 30 yards within a nice cinnamon bear, and the shot just didn't line up. I was in real thick timber. I'm sure we'll get some videos up, or if we don't have them up already. And you'll have to zoom in a bit, but it was kind of hard to film and have him through my scope.
You need
at the
a
same
cameraman.
time. I do. I need a cameraman, but yeah, I got within about 30 yards of him. He looked at me, and all I could see was his face and just the front of his right shoulder.
You think it was a boar?
I think so. From when I was looking at it, I don't know. I'm not like an expert at it. I think it's very difficult to tell.
You just got to look, see if they're swinging knee deep.
Yeah. He didn't get quite close enough. I couldn't test
It didn't cough for you?
No, it didn't cough for me. So it was good. It was a lot of work. The guys I was with, I think, were a little skeptical that I knew what I was doing, which maybe I still don't, but we did get on a bear. So that's pretty successful, I'd say. You know, and the shot just didn't line up. I could have put a shot on him thinking that I could get on him later and finish him, but I didn't want to wound a bear or take a shot I wasn't comfortable
ethical
with.
shot, yeah.
But he was close enough that I had my sidearm out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't see me. He was walking towards me, and I'm like,
oh, shit, oh, shit, oh, shit.
at 30 yards, it's kind of hard to hit with your scope.
Right.
You know, it's not shooting.
Well, even talking back to Ralph's story last episode, where that bear was 30 yards, and then within like 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds, it was like right on
top of him.
So
yeah, and and here was the weird part. I'm looking for him, and I'm walking slow, and all of a sudden I catch Fur walking in this thick timber, and I just stopped. Sure enough, he just walking right at me, had no idea I was there, and I was like, holy crap! I got my sidearm out, set it on my lap, put my scope out, and I'm like looking for him, and it was pretty cool, really cool experience.
That's different with hunting predators versus like deer and elk.
A little bit.
Walking in the woods, and you're like, okay, here's hair, you know. But if you're hunting something that has the potential to harm you, you know, does it raise your adrenaline a little bit when you're that close to them? I
think so. But, you know, we've had times where bull elk have come within feet of us, bugling mad as shit.
Right.
That's intimidating as hell, too. So
a large animal.
I don't have a fear of black bears, per se. I'm not. They don't bug me.
You can take them in a fight, right?
A small enough one, I think I could. I think here's my rule with bears. All right.
Oh my word!
Here's my rule. I would like to precede this with saying, I'm not saying I would come out unscathed, okay? But I think if it's light enough that I could pick it up,
You could kick its ass.
I think I could take it. Like I would probably be bloodied up,
What do you bench?
maimed.
What do you bench? How big a bear are we talking?
I don't know. I've never benched before.
We've had this discussion.
I weigh
so much.
I weigh what, 240, 230, probably 230 now, getting close to the wedding. And I push myself out of bed every day, so I bench press 230 at least once a day.
So as long as a bear gets you when you're sleeping and you still got your one for the day.
I would say probably 110 to maybe 120 pound bear I could throw around relatively easy.
I don't
Not
wanna
bench
have
press.
This, I don't
Not
want to
bench
have
press.
this conversation with you.
Yeah, but I mean, think of a bag of concrete. It's 80 pounds.
Yeah.
And I can throw that pretty good. So I'm not saying I could, like, I don't know, do some flying acrobats with it, but I feel like if I'm plus 100-pound bear is not a big bear.
No,
It's a pretty small bear.
It's not. But
like I could probably
they
choke
have
it out
claws
and stand up.
and teeth.
Like I said, I'm not coming out unmaimed. I just think
Think about
the size
Think
things
about
there.
What are those dogs? Super athletic dogs they use for working
Malamute.
dogs. What's the weight on a Malamute?
I don't know, probably 70 pounds, 75
And you
pounds.
can see what those do to people.
Yeah, but they are totally different than a bear.
They're different, but
Totally different. Like,
I would say they
and
compare,
even how they attack
they
you.
compare closer to a bear than a bag of concrete.
Agreed. But I think I could kill one of those Malamutes too.
Oh God, here we go.
Not like I think you're assuming that I'm unscathed.
So
I think I'm getting hurt.
What's your definition of unscathed?
Like not being hurt. I'm
Like-
the bear's gonna fuck me up. I'm saying
Rip your arm off?
I don't know if a 100-pound bear could rip your arm off.
Deglove you at least?
Could deglove you. Yeah, probably huge lacerations. Probably the back of my neck, depending on how I had them.
How much
bears
thought
have
have you put into this?
A lot. I
I
was
know
30
we-
yards from a bear. I was sizing him up.
You're like,
Yeah,
I think I could take it.
I did the.
I wonder why the parents worry when you and I go out.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want to. I'm just saying there's a bear, like the bear you shot. See the skull in the front here, guys? That's a big bear. I'm not wrestling that bear. No. But, you know, you got a smaller bear, maybe the size of a
Cub.
100-pound dog. The size of your dog, a black bear, that's about 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I could take that for
You
sure.
think so?
Mm-hmm. There's been guys that have strangled mountain lions. And those are 200 some
I don't
pound
know.
cats.
I don't know what's worse, the fact that you're underestimating the bear or overestimating yourself.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
Okay, I think we should move on. This is
All right.
a conversation we've had before, and we'll probably have it again.
All right.
Well,
all right.
I think our listeners should write in.
Let us know.
Can Jared take a bear?
Maybe
that's
not
100
Jared.
pounds?
Maybe not Jared.
Whoa! Now the equation's changing.
Well, they don't know. They haven't seen me fight before. I'm not saying I wouldn't cry. Probably be some tears.
Nothing wrong with crying.
But I think it's doable. 115 pound bear. I think doable, manageable. If I was a 100-pound
I'm done
guy,
with this conversation.
but I outweigh that bear by double. Like 100, I'm 120 pounds heavier than that bear. Fuck, I feel like I could sit on it. Although that bear I was watching, I got close to, and it was a bigger bear. It wasn't a small bear. It wasn't a huge bear, but it was probably a couple 100-pound bear. It was flipping huge boulders like unreal.
Like nothing.
Like nothing. And I was like, God, that doesn't look like a 100-pound bear to me. So, and that's how I'm judging if I want to shoot him or not.
You
if
can
I'm
take
like,
him in a
if
fight.
I'm like, nah, I could probably fight that one. I don't want to shoot it.
Oh my word!
Yeah. Yep. So,
My own brother, very, very character person.
Well, you know, when I was in the woods watching this bear creep up on me. I was going to karate chop it, but it got scared and ran off. No. When I was watching it, it ran off. I didn't end up getting a shot. I was pretty bummed. But then there's kind of a social media thing going around. And that popped in my head because you were bugging me about it.
The TikTok trend.
Yeah, the TikTok trend where would you rather be in the woods with a bear or a man?
And it's primarily geared towards women.
Towards women.
That's who's like duetting and reposting.
I think I've been in the woods with both. So I don't really know the question. Is the question with a strange man or any man or what?
It just, and the question is woods, bear, or man, but it's like implied like a strange man or like not.
So someone you don't know.
Someone you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Some random man. And so I was seeing that trend. I was kind of shocked that people were
comparing it.
Well, selecting the rather be with a bear than a man.
Yeah.
And maybe it has to do with the fact that a lot of people are not in the woods with bears or don't really know. Like socially, there's a lot more people that deal with strange men than bears. You know, they don't have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So in their mind, maybe that's the greater threat.
Yeah, maybe we have a different perspective. Because this is the second bear I'm hunting. I've been within 50 yards. And then I've been within closer than that to black bears, just riding four-wheelers. Come around a corner and there's one there.
I jumped one at my prior job doing a depth of cover survey, walking and like, oh, there's bear poop, you know, and I was by myself through some thick brush, and then I heard the and then I never saw it, but I mean, I must have had to walk right up on it. And there's something, I mean, they're a big animal. If I saw a homeless guy down there, I'd be like, hey, man, what's going on? But in that case, the bear was way more intimidating to be in the woods with.
I don't know. It goes to like the dangerous game, too. I guess if I knew the person was out to get me, I'd probably choose the bear.
Yeah.
Because I think the intelligence type human part would kind of freak me out. You know, I feel like there's a chance I might be able to outsmart a bear. Not outfight one, but outsmart one.
Well, the question isn't you're in the woods with a person trying to kill you or a bear trying to kill you. It's a bear or a man. So it's kind of vague. So
the bear might not be chasing you.
Correct.
The human might not be chasing you.
Right.
You're just,
where's your acceptable level of risk?
Does it count that I'd rather be in the woods with a bear because I kind of hate people? Is that?
Or in fact, you can take a bear?
A small bear.
Yeah. Well,
the size of a large dog.
Watch your dogs, neighbors.
Yeah. I'm not talking a 500-pound bear. I'm talking a 100-pound bear.
So you're talking like a black bear.
I'm talking a black bear. Or a grizzly cub. Probably a small, maybe like a 90-pound grizzly cub.
I would not try to wrestle a grizzly cub.
In captivity.
So you know the mom's not around.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I guess I would say, well, it also depends. Are you talking black bear or grizzly bear?
Yeah.
I definitely would way rather be in the woods with a black bear than a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
You know?
What about a man? A man, a black bear, or a grizzly bear?
I thought that was going to go a different direction. If I had to choose,
they're all trying to kill you. Which one would you be?
A black bear, easy.
Okay, what's your next choice? A man trying to kill you or a grizzly trying to kill you?
Bear. Well, and then does the man have tools? Is he like naked? Is it like does he have like clothes? You know, does he have a spear, a gun? What's he chasing me with? That
clothes,
type of thing.
No gun.
Just gonna like beat the shit out of me with his hands?
Yeah, maybe strangle you.
Is he 115 pounds?
This just in. If you're between 100 and 115 pounds, Jared can kick your ass.
Send me an email. I'll meet you anywhere.
I'm going to white girl and say, I just can't even with you today.
Yeah, so. But, well, speaking of bears, we kind of have an issue.
Speaking of bears in the woods, I mean.
Does a bear shit in the woods?
Statistically, there's.
Lots of bear poop in the woods.
Oh, my God.
Okay, sorry. I'm focused.
Are we good?
I'm good.
So statistically there is more bear poop in the woods, but there's also more bear in the woods, particularly grizzlies.
Grizzlies. Big issue with grizzlies.
And I was in the park, so the same time you were bear hunting,
Mm-hmm.
I was in Yellowstone National Park, and we saw 3 different grizzly sets, I would say.
Like mom and cub sets.
So first one was a mom and 2 cubs, and then the next day, completely different area, we just saw a single grizzly, and then the third day we saw completely different area, a grizzly and 3 cubs. And Yellowstone, there's critter jams and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
I could have swore like one year I was stuck an hour for a pelican, but
I think I've been stuck for prairie dogs and coyotes.
yeah,
If you don't grow up out here, it's cool.
It's
if you
cool.
grow up out here,
if
you're
I
like,
was somewhere else and I saw that stuff, I would be the same way.
yeah. I think like if I went to India, I'd like to take pictures of monkeys, and they're probably like, fuck the monkeys.
Yeah.
I need to start drinking some water.
Fuck the monkeys. But I mean, people were lined up, and people go nuts when like a critter, but it's this bear feeding, and it's probably 70 yards from the road. This
Mhm.
mom and 3 cubs, and everyone just standing around taking pictures, and it's like, do you guys realize how fast that bear could like turn
Cover
and-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nothing. I mean, a lot of people have no idea. Even talking back to Ralph's story when he got charged by the black bear, he had his bear spray out, and it was just like he didn't even have time
He
to
just tensed
react.
up.
He just tensed up, and that's what let the bear spray go.
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of the success of the bear spray is the fact that you don't have to be pinpoint accurate. It's
Mhm.
kind of a coverall versus a firearm where if you don't hit where you're aiming,
The
you're
only
done.
thing that, or one of the things I like the firearms for over the bear spray is I feel like if he's chewing on my neck, I can just
yeah.
put it against him and pull the trigger a few times.
After you get him in the full Nelson.
It depends on the size of bear. I don't think I would shoot a bear, 100-pound bear. That would be like shooting a baby.
Tap out.
Just tap him out.
But I mean, these people they don't really know, and that
Mhm.
wasn't a super dangerous situation. I'm sure they're used to people.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because recently I've been, I don't know if I listened to it or if I read it or what, but they're recording these mother grizzlies now keeping their cubs next to the highways and next to the roads in Yellowstone because the male grizzlies don't like the people
Oh,
and they stay away. So it kind of protects their cubs. So they stay close to the road now. And it's like a learned behavior. They're starting to see more and more mother grizzlies adapt.
kind of like the same thing with the coyotes in the park or foxes. They're really close to human establishment. Otherwise,
Mhm.
they get preyed on upon wolves and stuff.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Makes sense. Well, how much impact humans have on an
It's unreal.
ecosystem.
It's unreal. Well, I mean, grizzlies used to be everywhere, and they were prairie bears.
Yeah.
They were not mountain bears. They were not just in Yellowstone Park. They were all over.
Yeah.
The California state flag has a grizzly bear on it.
Yeah.
There's no grizzly bears in California. So we have plenty of them here now.
I think we should just send them to California, kind of satisfy.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I'd like to delve into that a bit. But before we do, I think we need to kind of describe the grizzly bear situation. So, and I don't know if all this is like 100% fact, take it to the bank, but this is the research I've personally done and stuff I've listened to. It's just kind of what I have in my head. But I know, and I have a few notes here to kind of keep me on track. I know that in, I think 1975, they protected the grizzlies in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem.
Okay. Is that all in the lower 48?
Yep, that's
Okay.
all in the lower 48. So that's, well, it's just around Yellowstone,
Right.
is what it is. There's a whole nother population of grizzlies. They call it I always call it the glacier bears, but it's the
Is it North Continental Divide?
North Continental Divide. So there's kind of two separate populations, at least in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming area. And in this greater Yellowstone ecosystem, they were down to 150 bears. So they federally protected them and said, when we hit 400, we're good. And later on, they bumped it to 500. In 2016, we were at 700. And in 2023, when Fish, Wildlife, and Parks did their last count, just in the state of Montana, we were at 2,100 grizzly bears. So we've far exceeded the initial 400 almost by
Even
six
the 500.
times. Yeah, even the 500, right? We're just over 4 times greater than the 500 mark. So there's a big discussion where should we delist the grizzlies and start to manage them? And it's a big fight in this state. Depending on where you drive, there's billboards that say save the grizzlies, and there's billboards that say hunt the grizzlies.
Yeah.
And the theory behind hunting the grizzlies is the amount of grizzly encounters has gone up. Understandably, the bears are 6 or more, 150 to 2,100. You know, there's quite a few more grizzly bears around, right? And that's not just in the greater Yellowstone area. They were down to 150 in the greater Yellowstone area. And now I think they say there's about 1,000
in that
greater Yellowstone area. And for those that don't know, that's Montana, Wyoming, Idaho.
Around Yellowstone
National Park. Yep. So in my eyes, you hit your mark, and then you move the mark, and you hit your second mark, and now we're 4 to 5 times greater than that mark, because I don't know how accurate the grizzly counts are.
Yeah. Some guy with bacon walking in the woods.
What are they doing? Asking them to send a selfie in or something, census data. So with that, I think the grizzly should be delisted and hunted. There's a few reasons. The grizzly encounters are up, and people are getting hurt and killed.
That's with like people recreating outside, but it's also the conflict with grizzlies on cattle and stuff is also up also.
Yep. Understandably, you got a megafauna predator, really, and it's going to eat cows and it's going to eat people, and that's what you're seeing.
Right.
So there's some theory or some thought that if you hunt them, put some human pressure back on them, it kind of creates that natural, they're scared of humans type of thing, like black bears are.
Right. Well, because you kill the more bold bears.
Yeah.
And so then the species, and it wouldn't be every bear, but generally speaking, the species would be more leaning towards the skittish animals that are less likely to
venture out
and interact with humans.
Because right now, let's say you got attacked by a grizzly and you shot and killed it. If you didn't die, you then have to go under some kind of scrupulous investigation on why you killed this bear. Where if they opened a season on them, that would be less so because they'd be off the endangered species list.
Right. And I think a lot of the issues with this we also see with wolves, where there's a lot of out-of-state, even out-of-country money that kind of go towards...
American Prairie Reserve is one.
Go towards these events that don't necessarily understand the lifestyle here.
No.
You're in the woods. That's where the bears live. Why are you in the woods? And it's like, well, they've been gone for a while.
Yeah. And
I'm not saying wipe them off the face of the earth. I think a balanced ecosystem is good. But why aren't we managing them?
They've done that successfully with wolves. Wolf population is up. So much so that, like, there's complaints there's too many wolves now because of the cattle destruction and the elk destruction. But the big hit was actually moose. The wolves have decimated wolf populations in the state. And I don't think that's talked about enough. So you have a lot of these groups that are pro-animal, pro the wolf. Well, the wolf's a predator.
They decimated the moose population throughout the state.
The wolves decimated the moose population throughout the state. The moose on the Montana-Idaho border, freaking decimated. Bad. Just wiped them out. Well, it's very hard to kill those wolves because a lot of that is like backcountry, national forest stuff that takes miles to get into. So for someone to buy a wolf tag and spend a ton of money to go in there to just shoot one or two, that's not helping control those wolves back there. So they just decimated the moose population. So food for thought there. If you're for animals, where do you draw the line? Because you're for grizzlies, you're for wolves. Well, then, are you not for the elk? Are you not for the moose?
Well, in my opinion, people have this preconceived idea of humans interrupt nature, and I agree they do, but the big step back is humans are also a part of nature. We've been on this earth for thousands of years interacting with these populations.
Yep.
And granted, we do have a history, a track record of not being great, like passenger pigeons and dodo bird. We caused extinctions
Tasmanian devil. I still think they're alive somewhere.
But humans have a role to play.
Yes.
But we're also smart enough to try to understand that role. And it's a balance between maintaining these natural ecosystems, but also allowing people to exist and minimizing conflict.
Well, look at any other alpha predator, which we are. We're at the top of the food chain, right?
Well, there's some vegans out there that I would argue.
For whatever reason, technology, brain, smarts, whatever, we're top of the food chain. If you look at any other animal that hits the top of the food chain like that, the animals in competition with it pretty much die off. So we're an exception where we have taken the place of wolves. Ecologically, we don't really need wolves. Humans could prey on more deer, more elk, blah,
There's
blah, blah.
Arguments, particularly in Yellowstone, where the wolves cause the elk to move differently, but that's also in a spot where hunting's limited. People can't move.
The bison and I don't disagree there, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is we are unique in the fact that we are allowing these other predators to flourish in a way, but we have to manage that, because if it gets too much, like right now, the moose are not doing well, right? And so we have to kind of, otherwise the population's up and down and
Valleys
it's unstable
and
it's not like all animals on the Disney Channel live together in peace and harmony. You want to really think a grizzly bear's cuddly, look up grizzly bear attacking black bear. That's some brutal shit.
Yeah.
You know, black bear with cubs and a grizzly will come in and kill
even
black
wolves
bear and
and
cubs.
coyotes, same
Yep.
relationship.
Yeah, wolves will just tear coyotes apart. And it's natural, but it's also natural for us to kill and eat those animals too. You know what I mean? Maybe not coyotes. There's a lot of parasites in that. But the point, I guess, I would like to finish at with this is humans have a role to play in managing those grizzlies.
Especially in North America, that's where our system's set up. That's how we manage.
That's how we manage. And right now, I think it needs to be changed. I think the grizzly bears are out of control population-wise, and if they don't want us to hunt them, we should be boxing them up and shipping them to states that used to have them that want them, right? But and you can read on like the Humane Society website and probably PETA and a bunch of these other animal sites or grizzly sites about how the grizzly bear was close to extinction and blah, 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 blah. It's not true. The grizzly bear was close to disappearing in the Yellowstone area and in the northern continental area by Glacier, kind of the northern Rockies there. But there's 30,000 grizzly bears in Alaska, and there's 26,000 to 29,000 grizzly bears throughout Canada.
So the species still there.
The species is fine.
Maybe not the genetic diversity.
And maybe not the subspecies that's, you know. But I mean, at what point are you splitting some hairs there?
Right.
You know. So it's not like we start hunting these endangered species. There's only 2,000 of them in the state of Montana, and they're hunting them. No. There's 60-some thousand grizzly bears in North America or Canada and Alaska combined.
And you would hunt them, which
on a special tag. It wouldn't be over the counter.
Well,
you know,
the whole thing is you would hunt them so they would be managed.
Yes.
So you'd look at the numbers. You wouldn't over harvest, you know.
And
it's not like we're trying to extinguish them from this area. Just manage them.
They're a great success story. They're back. We need to manage them just like every other species.
And that would also minimize the conflict that is happening, because right now, if we have a problem bear that kills someone or goes and eats cattle a couple times, that bear gets killed.
It gets killed anyways.
Right.
It's getting killed.
So why
anyways.
isn't the state why aren't we managing that and making revenue off of that?
Yep.
Why are we spending money to manage this resource when we could be making money to manage it?
I agree.
From an economic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people that don't live here don't understand the lifestyle and don't understand the concept of what it's actually like to live where we live,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of occupy some of these areas that maybe, I don't want to say infested, but recolonized by grizzly bears. You know, how much that changes life out here for us.
Well, they talk about the grizzly bears just like coyotes. What happens when you put wolves into an ecosystem full of coyotes? Coyotes disappear. What happens when you take a mountain range full of black bears and a population of grizzly bears starts in that? The black bears disappear.
Right.
Because the grizzly bears eat the black bears.
Yeah.
So pick your poison. Do you want grizzly bears here? Do you want black bears here? Were grizzly bears here originally and black bears? Yeah, probably. But when black bears are hunted and grizzly bears aren't, grizzly bears have an unfair advantage, and they eat black bears.
Right.
So, you know, where are the groups outraged for the black bears that are being killed?
Black bear lives matter.
Black bear lives matter. That'd be a good t-shirt.
But in nature, everything ebbs and flows. There's nothing constant. So constantly populations, individuals are trying to one-up each other to occupy the resources. So the idea that this is just going to be a flat number across the board, it's not. It goes up and down.
Yep.
And I think we just need to play the correct role to have these species for the future, but also
manage them
to where
they're not
humans
out of
aren't
control.
getting attacked, and people are able to still make their livelihood through ranching or farming.
You know, and it's funny you say how ebb and flow and interconnected all this stuff is. I don't really think we have a grasp on when we're tweaking stuff. I think when we say managing populations, we're doing our best to kind of contain the chaos.
Right.
Because so much stuff is interconnected and interwoven that it's very hard to say, if I change this one thing, it'll only affect this. You change this one thing and it affects this, affects this, affects this, affects this, and then. And a good example of it, and I heard this, and I ended up reading the research paper on it, which was very interesting, is they talked about declining elk herds in Yellowstone, not due to the wolves, but due to grizzly bears. And
just because grizzly bears are more abundant than they used to be?
No. Now, in this, so stay with me through this thought process. The wolves did have an effect on the elk, but it wasn't a population crashing effect. What they're finding is the elk are decreasing more and more, and the thought process is, what's eating them? And they looked at 60% of elk calf deaths in the spring are from grizzly bears. So the grizzly bear population, this in Yellowstone, is eating the elk calves.
Playing a large role in population control. 60%.
Yep. 60% of elk calf deaths were from grizzly bears.
Because there's more grizzlies than there used to be since the restoration.
There's a few things. Elk calves are good at hiding. Grizzly bears can sniff them out. So no matter how much camouflage they have, they're just tracking them down. The reason for this, now hang on, I'm going to drop this bomb on you, is the disappearance of the West Slope cutthroat trout out of Yellowstone Lake. So you're losing elk population to grizzlies because the cutthroats are gone in the lake or diminished.
Because the grizzlies were eating the cutthroat?
Correct. So some time ago.
Spawning.
So some time ago, and I don't know the date on this. I'm sure if you really care, you can look it up. I probably should have memorized the date. Some guys who like lake trout let lake trout go in Yellowstone Lake. And as we all know, lake trout get big, they're more aggressive, and they have been out-competing and eating all the cutthroat in Yellowstone Lake.
All right, and there's been large efforts to kill them off.
Yeah, there's like gill nettings.
Yeah,
and
I think this year when I was there, it said they gill netted 157,000 lake trout out of that lake.
So you're all for animal rights, and we're having the government go in and gill net. What did you say?
157,000.
157,000 fish they just kill. And there's regulations in the park. If you catch those trout, you have to kill them.
Right.
Take them home, or you got to puncture the air bladders, throw them back. You got to kill them. And here's you would think, well, it doesn't matter the fish, right? Lake trout spawn in the lake. So these grizzly bears, especially a growing population of grizzly bears, all used to eat the spawning west cutthroats that come out of the lake into the tributaries. And that's a lot of calories and a lot of fat that's not there anymore. And so the grizzly bears have shifted to eating elk calves, elk babies, instead of fish. Because guess what? That grizzly bear needs to eat so many calories a day, not only to just sustain himself, but they're coming out of that winter hibernation. They need to stock up. You know, summer is just a giant stuff fest, so they're ready for winter. Interesting. How interconnected is that? Some dumbasses selfishly threw lake trout in Yellowstone Lake, kills the west cutthroat population. The grizzly bears switch from eating cutthroats because they're not there. So what are they going to do? Starve? No, they're going to find something to eat.
Fill a different niche.
And now they're predating on elk calves. And that's the theory. And the paper loosely proves it with statistics. They go into calorie loads and, you know, how many fish were these grizzly bears eating during spawning, and how many calves do they need to eat to replenish it, and the numbers. And then they looked at a few different ways. They all kind of sum up to about what they're finding. So unless you had it all filmed and you watched back the film, a Yellowstone park, it was a very interesting article. Logically makes sense to me.
Very interesting perspective. Almost a trophic cascade that's not blatant, because and that kind of goes into the balance of invasive species, how they can ruin a ecosystem. So it's kind of a weird scenario, because you have a lot of animal rights people where they're like, well, we need to protect this animal, but this animal's not from here, so we need to kill all of it.
Yeah, there's that duality there.
Yeah.
What? So you're just for animals that you want to be there. But so there's not really a good or a bad and good, or right and wrong here. We're trying to keep species from disappearing.
Correct.
So west cutthroat need help.
Right.
Okay. The lake trout don't need help. We need to kill a lot of those.
They need to be managed.
They need to be managed. You like animals. You like baby animals. You're losing a lot of baby elk to bears now, specifically grizzly bears. Do grizzly bears need to be managed in the park? No, that's what the park's for. But outside the park, their population is way over what was set to be healthy number. I mean, I know there's a little bit of issue between that North Continental population versus Greater Yellowstone intermingling to get that diversity going. But again, I say take a few bears from Greater Yellowstone, a few bears from Continental Divide, and throw them in California. And then you got, you know, some more golden bears showing up.
There you go.
Yeah, and see how much they like them in the Sierras. Like,
well,
and then we'll resurvey people,
yeah,
girls, and say, what do you want to find a weird man in the woods, or do you want to run into a mom grizzly and her cubs? You know,
I don't know. It shows the balance between nature and human intervention, and species are always trying to get one up on each other, especially like you can see that with invasive. We're talking about the lake trout, but it also happens with plants, birds, all of the above.
House cats.
And this idea of restoring nature back to the time before it was impacted is a false statement, because humans have been on the landscape for at least 10,000 years. So
you got to draw a line.
What's your number?
We want to restore it back to the 1800s. We want to restore it back to the 10,000 BC.
Right.
Throw some mammoths in here. What is right? And was it wrong for them to introduce lake trout, or is that part of natural species movement? What's natural? Humans have been moving species since we've been on the planet. That's
Right.
how a lot of species spread, was through other animals, not just humans. But
Right.
so is it natural for humans to bring fish to a lake that they want to fish? As an animal, humans,
Maybe.
that kind of makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did it for sportsmanship reasons, but
I agree, you know, we need to protect species, but there's also the aspect of the time scale of what this looks like, because humans are here not very long.
mm-hmm.
You have 80 years if you have a good run,
Yep.
and that's nothing compared to the span of many species or even the Earth.
No,
So
not at
we're
all.
just getting a little
Totally different
snapshot
time
of
scale. Yeah.
this is where the species are at. But if we could zoom out, we could say, oh, okay, well, this doesn't matter. This does.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as humans, we have to make the best effort from what we know. I know we don't know how connected everything is, but make the best effort to manage things sustainably.
And I think we need to manage grizzly bears. I would apply for a tag, special drawing. I would love to get one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, with me buying that tag, that money goes to conservation for grizzly
Protecting
bears,
habitat.
all that stuff. So,
Managing them.
you know, if I were to get a bear, would it be a trophy for me? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be something I'd cherish the rest of my life. And I don't think people realize the respect a large group of outdoorsmen have for the animals that they do chase.
Yeah.
There is some people that don't. You know, there's that guy in Wyoming that caught that wolf and taped his mouth shut.
I mean, that just leaves a bad taste in your mouth as an outdoorsman.
That wasn't a good
sportsman.
move.
No.
You know, I'm not for torturing animals at all. It's natural. It's normal to have maybe some bad kills
Mm-hmm.
as an outdoorsman. Sometimes stuff doesn't go perfect, and that bugs me because it should be quick. You know,
Yeah.
and I kind of pride myself in being able to give that animal that opportunity. And for all those that think that's weird to say, that me killing an animal quickly is an opportunity for that animal, if I'm not doing it, it either dies of infection, disease, or something eats it alive.
Starves to death because its teeth are all
It's a pain. It's not like a movie on TV where it like lays down and looks into the sunset and just drifts to sleep and it dies and grows into grass. No, something chases it. It's feared for its life, tackles it, and then eats it alive until it's, you know.
Yeah, but you have a certain respect for all these animals that you
do.
chase, and you learn about it. And I think that's an aspect that a lot of people don't get. So even with the grizzlies, I don't hate grizzlies.
Mm-mm.
I think they're an incredible animal. I like watching them in the park, even videos of them, how much power they have. But they should just be managed like every other game species.
Why wouldn't they not? And they were being managed.
Mm-hmm.
They were endangered. They got managed, and it worked. And now they need to manage them slightly differently.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if you threw a flower you liked in your garden, and you had a few of them, and the next year you have a few more, and the next year it took over your whole garden, you would pull some of the flowers out, right?
I'm loving these garden references. Now you have a garden.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Holly does a lot of pickling, so a lot of cukes this year. But my point still stands. It's a species. It's hit its numbers.
We need to manage it.
We need to manage it. And again, to stress, grizzly bears as a species are not endangered. Not even close to being endangered. There's a lot of them. Just in this area, I don't think it would be bad to have a few tags. And then I don't think it would be horrible to set up some boundaries where we think, you know, kind of just like they do black bears, where there's some areas that are quotas and there's some areas that are unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
And the unlimited areas are usually areas where they don't want black bears, or there's tons of black bears, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
But there's areas where they watch the black bears and you can't shoot cubs, or you can never shoot cubs, but you can't shoot a female with cubs. You know, there's a quota for how many females can be shot, how many males can be shot. And I think that would be very similar to managing bears. I don't know how different grizzly bears and black bears reproduce either. I don't know if it's
different strategy.
Or even like, I feel like they both have like 2 to 3 cubs.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty similar, and I think it's like every 2 to 3 years they have cubs. It's not an every year thing unless their cubs get killed.
They're
by
definitely
a male.
those apex predators are definitely a slower K type species where they don't reproduce as fast.
Yeah.
Compare that to like Sharpies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we know how to manage that. We've done it with cats. We've done it with black bears.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it with grizzlies.
And God forbid you shoot a few grizzlies. It's not going to hurt. The population is going to keep growing. At this point, it's like, I don't want to say too big to fail because, some weird disease could pop up and blah, blah, blah. But it's at the point where it's exponentially building on itself. So right now, and this is how populations work, they're low and then they start building, and then something happens when they get too high and they collapse. And that's that ebb and flow.
Right.
But if you manage a species, you can keep them from ever hitting that peak and coming down. You can keep them in this.
You could also keep them in the
cycle.
Max yield potential.
That's what I'm saying.
Where
You
you're
keep them in the
producing-
steepest climb before they decline and come back down.
So you're producing the most individuals,
You're making the most bears, but you're also harvesting
the
the
most
most bears. It's like a sweet spot.
Mhm.
You try to hit that with deer, you try to hit it with anything. And it's a natural law.
Right. And it's not, FWP has a hard job. It's not a clear cut case.
Mhm.
But for the most part, species are doing well, and it's through our management program.
And let's say we open hunting on them and their population tanks. We
Close it.
stop hunting.
Yeah.
That's called good management.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's time. I know there's a debate, but I think the other side of the debate doesn't come from, I don't want to say a side of logic, but I want to say a side of species management. I feel like they come from more of a don't hurt the nice bears type of management. Oh, I have a great story, actually, that'll kind of cap this off. I was in Livingston, Montana,
Okay.
and I was at a bar, and I ran into, and I forget his name, I ran into a biologist for the state. And I don't know if he was fresh out of college, still in college as an intern, if he was an intern, but he was doing something in biology with the state, wildlife biology.
Okay.
And we started talking about the bears. And I believe this is not too long after we shot our first bears, our black bears. And we were talking, and kind of a similar discussion. I think the grizzly needs to be delisted. And this was probably 6 years ago, something like that. And yeah, the grizzly bear needs to be delisted. And he's talking to me, and I'm like, if a bear were to attack me, is it okay to shoot a bear then? Is kind of what I was asking him. And he comes back and goes, well, you're in his house. What are you doing in the woods? What do you mean his house? We're a species from this planet. It's his house as much as this is my house. It's not, I think people get this disconnected of like humans live in cities and animals live in the woods and nature. No, we live in nature, right? The people in the cities, in my opinion, it's almost like a fucked up lifestyle. I think that's what's causing so much decay in our society is that
I agree.
they're so removed from what you're naturally supposed to be.
There's even been studies with like green spaces, how that produces mental health and productivity. In a lot of the concrete jungles, you don't get that. So there's definitely, that's a huge issue. Maybe we could dive into that more on a different episode.
But going back to bears, he comes back and he says, so if you were in the woods in this bear's house and it came to attack you, would you shoot it? And I said, yep, I definitely would shoot it. Like, I'm not going to die. And he looks at me and he goes, so you have a human-centric view of life? And I was like, yep. Especially my human life.
Yeah,
it would be a different question if you were asking, do I want to save this person and kill all the grizzlies? Or do I want to kill one grizzly and save one human? I'm trading a human. Right? That, of course, it's human-centric in that sense.
There's so much wrong with that statement.
It made it seem like I was like wrong for being human-centric.
Number one, that's individualism, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's natural to want to preserve yourself.
Yep.
Number two, it's natural to want to preserve your species.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's wrong on two fundamentally large layers.
Yeah.
To value.
Biologists for the state of Montana said that. Now, let me retract that. I can't confirm if he was working as a biologist for the state, if he was an intern, but I know he was working for or with the state in some capacity, either getting his degree in biology or already had it and had started working as a biologist. But how politically driven and how corrupt is that view for a biologist to have? Human-centric. You don't need to be worrying
as a
about
biologist. You're managing the bears for other people.
And
you're not managing the people for the bears.
Exactly. And how far biology, it shouldn't even, who gives a fuck if you're human-centric or not? You should look at the numbers. You're a biologist. Yep. There's enough bears. This is the carrying capacity we determined is here. There's too many bears. So they're probably going to have disease or collapse or something's going to happen. So let's harvest some. You know what I mean?
Right. More of a
numbers,
statistic, not theoretical.
Yeah. Why a biologist had a view like that makes me fearful for the state. And why did he get the job in the first place? Like,
hopefully
what's your goal? Hopefully.
Intern got weeded
Maybe
out.
He's not in there anymore. If you are, sorry. Yeah.
DM us.
DM us. Let us know. But yeah.
That's just, it's baffling and shocking.
Well, there's so much emotion tied up in it. And I'm not saying I'm not passionate about this issue, but my passion, I believe, comes from a much more natural place than I love grizzly bears, and they should stay in the woods, and I'll stay in my house and watch them on the Discovery Channel. I mean, I'm out in the same shit grizzly bears are in.
Mm-hmm.
We went on that mountain goat hunt. We were in the grizzly tracks, fresh tracks, cub tracks. They were eating all around us. Like, we're out in it. And I believe that's naturally where we should be. And just more in nature, and bears are part of it. And I think the role we do now is we're kind of caretakers, and caretaking does not mean not letting any animals die, because animals die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually not pretty. Life is not pretty. Humans have kind of glorified death, I think, in a little bit of ways like that. But
this is a larger episode, but you're so disconnected from even our food system.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Where'd your food come from?
People in the city have no concept of what an animal's actually like, right? Their idea is like, oh, the burger comes from McDonald's. McDonald's has a burger. It's like, no, that burger was a cow somewhere.
And some rancher had to raise that from a baby.
Yeah.
And care for it and love it and feed it. And if its mom rejected it, stay up every night and feed it, help it get on its feet. I mean, we have rancher friends whose cows have been attacked by bears. And then where does your allegiance lie there? Are you human-centric? Are you cow-centric? Are you bear? Are you pissed off because the calves got away and only got their back straps eaten out and they were fucked up and had a bunch of vet bills? And I mean, they tried their hardest and they kept them alive. They made it. And then those cows go off to the sale barn, right? And get turned into your hamburger. So is that rancher human-centric? Because he gave a hell of a bunch about that baby calf. And he probably hated that bear for hurting his baby calf, right? But that's that individual bear. It doesn't mean he hates all bears. He just hates the bear that tried to kill his baby cow.
Him.
Yeah. And so it's a much larger issue for sure.
We live in like a dystopian society when it comes to our food system.
Yeah. In America, you mean?
Yeah.
So disconnected. So, I mean, definitely a different episode. Enriched flour,
Right.
Yeah.
But that can be extrapolated towards the management of grizzlies because people don't understand even where their food comes from, even how these systems are set in place to work. They just see a picture and like, oh no, we shouldn't kill them. But there's so much more to the issue that a lot of people don't understand. And I went to school in environmental science, and it was very based heavy in ecology. So I have a good understanding, and I've learned a lot about these issues and stuff. If you didn't take that path, you have no idea.
Well, you had some take that path. That I think one girl one year wanted to take away hunting and instead have Fish and Game like dart all the deer with
that was
birth control
in California, I think.
What?
Yeah. But there needs to be more education for, you don't even have to be a sportsman, or you don't have to like the outdoors, but you just need to understand how these systems work, because they've been in place for a while now, and we're
they're
getting
constantly
better.
evolving.
Yeah, constantly
we're getting
evolving.
better. We're not 100% there yet. I think FWP screwed up with mule deer in the eastern part of the state. Hopefully they'll fix it. So we're human. There's some mistakes, but at the end, our goals are to have healthy populations of animals.
And a diverse.
And diverse. And when you have a population that's being regulated in a way that doesn't allow any control, that gets dangerous. Just like anything. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. You know, imagine if they dropped a bunch of grizzly bears in Central Park in New York.
Yeah.
I'm sure the residents there would just love it.
I think they would change their minds about management.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, a lot of people have the idea that this West is untamed and it's wild. And there are some untamed wild parts, but there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's people everywhere. So the idea of this pristine wilderness that is just full of animals is
like the
false.
American Prairie Reserve is going for. They want bison, they want grizzlies, they want all this stuff back on this prairie. What's keeping them on your chunk of ground? Nothing. They'll be in the neighbors feeding on his calves. You think the grizzlies are going to go, oh no, I prefer chasing a wild buffalo.
Yeah.
Or I want to hop the fence and eat the barbed wire, 3-wire fence and eat a domesticated calf that's defenseless. Right? And the rancher can't shoot me because it's a whole world of hurt, you know. It's just such a distorted view of what wildlife management is in 2024.
Yep.
But
I mean, I think wildlife management should just be you going out and wrestling the bears, telling them to stay in the correct lane.
You got to stay in the park, bud.
Full Nelson.
Yeah.
But I like talking with you about this. I know we agree on a lot of the same issues, so maybe it's a little bit of an echo chamber, but it also helps me flesh out my thoughts and kind of get my thoughts in order for these issues and bring up the discussion of like, yeah, something needs to be done.
And if you guys have something you want to say, email us, message us on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Get a hold of us.
YouTube.
Yep. And I would love to discuss this with somebody that is maybe not as like-minded. And even have you on. You know, if you've got some good things to say, I'd love to have you on, different perspective. But yeah, it's right now I think we're at a teetering point where it needs to be managed differently. I just hope it gets done. It'll happen eventually. Like, there can't be grizzly bears everywhere. Like, something has to be done. So I'm hoping it happens soon enough where a bunch more people don't get killed or maimed and a bunch more bears don't have to be hunted down. And because if a bear kills a human, they go and kill the bear.
Right.
So the bears are dying. They're just killing a human before they're dying.
Even conflict.
Even conflict bears. Yep.
Cattle.
Yeah. With cattle, all that. So it's, yeah. But anyways, I think that was pretty good.
Yep. Don't forget to check out our T-shirts.
Yeah, we got one up here. Cooter Shooter. A person known to identify and target coots over any other bird.
So definitely Jared's T-shirt. I think it's his size.
I mean, we all have that friend. We're duck hunting, and you're like, don't shoot the coot. Don't shoot the coot. And he's like, I'm going to do it. And he shoots the coot. And this would be a perfect shirt for him.
Well, the limit
The
of
Cooter
them's
Shooter.
Wear it out. Show all your friends. Great Christmas gift.
Great Christmas gift. Get it for your mother-in-law.
Yeah. That's a hard sell. Well, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening. This season we have more interviews set. Gonna bring in a couple more guests and kind of get some more perspectives, maybe some more insights. Yeah, but we're hitting the ground running. Going to be a busy summer, but hopefully you guys are cool with our once every 2 weeks now, kind of a little bit slower, but hopefully higher quality content that we're bringing you.
And with the video that we're doing now, we need time to do it. It's just us two. We work full time. You got a kid. I'm getting married. We have other projects going on. It's not like we get off work and just work on this. So that every 2 weeks kind of gave us time to actually flesh out interviews, do stuff on the weekends to get content, and, record and give some production time to this. So it's definitely working more for us, but let us know. I'd like to hear some feedback.
We might have to go back to weekly.
Have
to
you guys start
job. Paying my salary.
Yeah, start donating to us and I'll quit my job and we'll be making it every day.
Well, I guess we'll just be working.
Surviving a week.
Live on the weekends.